So I just decided to get on a plane and go to New York. I just was going to go out and get it.
I'm Kristen Flowers. I'm a morning radio personality on 96.5 KOIT in San Francisco. I love to talk, but especially when I get to talk to inspiring and dynamic women. So I've made it my mission to learn from them on how we can become more powerful and grow our voice. I also love getting manicures. This is Helly. She's the owner of Lacquer Bar in Berkeley. And not only do they do amazing work, but they're a feminist playground. That's why it's the perfect place for meetings and manicures. Today I get to speak with Kara Goldin. She's the founder and CEO of Hint. She left a high-profile tech job to start something she knew nothing about. How did she make Hint such a success? I'm gonna find out. So do you get manicures very often?
I do.
You do?
I do. I get manicures quite a bit. I do a ton of stuff around my house too, in addition to sort of working here. So I find that I need to do it, and I'm constantly, using my hands doing something. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, when you started this business, I'm sure it was very hands-on in the beginning, because I know you started it just from like your own idea that you were like, let me see if I can get this going.
Exactly. I was drinking just a ton of diet soda, and I really wanted to get healthy, and so started drinking plain water, but just was never a big water drinker.
Right.
I started slicing up fruit and throwing it in the water, and then thinking, okay, this gets me to drink more water. And then I went to a local store in San Francisco and started looking for this product, and I was really surprised that all of the things that were calling themselves water were not water at all and had tons of sweeteners in them.
Right.
And so I really wanted something that just was water with fruit without any of the sweeteners in it. I frankly, did it as kind of, I wonder if I could actually do this and develop the product. And I was looking for other jobs. I'd been in tech before with AOL, and
Right.
I'd been in media prior to that. And at the time I had 3 young kids, and I was pregnant with my 4th.
Oh my
so
gosh.
the timing was not what some would call ideal. And
Right.
I just had this huge burst of energy to actually get this product on the shelf. It was just really exciting.
Well, I think there's a lot of women out there, especially moms, that have great ideas and they don't know how to get it started. So being from the tech industry, had you ever started your own business before this?
No, I'd always worked on like projects internally that were not necessarily what everybody wanted to work on. I was always attracted to things that were either somebody had barely touched it, or it seemed really hard to people. At CNN, for example, I worked on the airport channel, and we had no idea, could we actually put monitors in airports?
Yeah.
And how at that time, I mean, trying to understand who the business traveler was like a whole new concept. So totally dating myself through
No,
this,
but so are you
yeah.
saying that there's TVs and monitors in airports because of you?
Not just because of me, but I worked on the project to help make that happen. So I look back on things that I did, and I think it would have been so much easier for me just to go and sell national advertising.
Right.
Not that that's a totally easy job. I instead was really attracted to something that really hadn't been done, and that we had to figure out, like, who do we talk to in airports?
Yeah.
Like, which airports should we go after first? Like, how do we charge for advertising? And so, when I decided to develop Hint, I didn't view it as any different in many ways than I had done. I mean, I think that there were a lot of aspects that I just didn't know. The terminology, I think, was probably the most, interesting thing for me learning later on as I was developing this. Like, I had for months been looking, for example, for a bottler to bottle our product, and then I find out as I'm doing a Google search on it that it's actually a co-packer. And it was something that I was super passionate about, but it was also something that I felt like I was almost going back to school. And here's something that I know nothing about, and I'm going to be like at the bottom and loading up my Grand Cherokee with cases of Hint, and I just thought it was super cool that, you know, you could actually get a physical product on the shelf.
I mean, it's such a fascinating story. I mean, it's so inspiring. I think a lot of people have ideas, but what's the first step?
Yeah, I think that the first thing you need to think about is what you're really interested in. If you actually believe in what you're doing and you can sort of say, okay, here is what it's going to ultimately do, and you have a why around it, then you can kind of go and fill in between by actually creating a company around it or joining a company around it. I really believe that there's a lot of people and a lot of leaders would tell you that you need followers and you need contributors, and there's nothing wrong with that at all, because they can't make this whole thing a reality without people that are actually contributing. And maybe you go and contribute and then actually continue to hone in on what you ultimately want to do, and then go off and do that.
You watch one episode of Shark Tank and you hear about how hard it is to break in to the food and beverage industry. Was it fairly easy for you, or?
So I got it into Whole Foods here in San Francisco, and then there's a few different food shows in the country, and we had heard about the Fancy Food Show in New York and got a cardboard table and I think like a, you know, table skirt from Hallmark or something. Like it wasn't anything, you know, crazy, and we set it up, and we had Whole Foods come by and say, gosh, you know, we've heard that you guys are doing really well in the San Francisco Whole Foods, and we'd love to take you nationally. I'll never forget, one of the buyers said to me, oh, so who are you distributed through? And I said, well, in San Francisco, we, you know, load up our Grand Cherokee and we deliver it. And they said, yeah, but like in, you know, Austin, how are you going to get your product to Austin? And I'm like, well, I don't know. I mean, how would I get my product to Austin?
How do you want me to get it there?
I guess I can't really load up my Grand Cherokee and deliver it to you. And they said, oh, well, you kind of have to figure out how to make that happen. And so I felt like there was just this big puzzle when I walked into food and beverage, and nobody in food and beverage was there to like help me actually figure it out. I heard a lot of no's and really rude people along the way, and you know, now people come by our booth and say, oh, I remember when you asked me for information. And I think, yeah, I remember too, and you never gave me any.
Yeah, I have a long memory. Is there a lot of women in the beverage industry?
No, there's you know, there's more and more that are cropping up, but yeah, not very many women in the beverage industry at all. So. And
why do you think that is?
You know, it's hard, but I can't say that, you know, tech isn't hard too. Like, I think it's just to be a woman in business in general, and go out and start a company and raise money and manage people and all of those things. I mean, that's just, you know, it's just hard, right? So I don't know why, but I will say that, you know, the women that are doing it are doing a great job.
So I see that you have the sunscreen.
Yeah.
And this is very exciting. So tell me a little bit about it.
A few years ago, I had a precancer patch on my nose, and I had it removed. And then the dermatologist said, you know, you've got to start wearing sunscreen religiously. And then it came back really like much bigger than it had before.
Really?
And so I thought like the only thing that I had done differently was actually wear sunscreen. So then I thought, well, should I even wear sunscreen? Because there's a lot of people out there who say, like, don't wear sunscreen. And so I did a Google search, and I came across an ingredient called oxybenzone that had been approved by the FDA in 1976, even though the Center for Disease Control had suggested that it may not be ready to be approved because some studies had showed that precancer cells may actually be exacerbated by wearing this product. And so I ordered a bunch of sunscreen ingredients and started like mixing it up and doing it at home, and then finally said, gosh, I wonder if I could actually take the fruit from the water and put it in the sunscreen as a scent.
Yeah.
And actually 2 weeks ago, we just rolled out nationwide in Target, which is really, really exciting.
That's
and then,
very exciting.
Yeah, and then we're going into CVS in May nationwide as well.
Where do you get your motivation from?
There's a lot of people with health issues out there that, you know, they worry about. I mean, type 2 diabetes is probably, you know, the fastest growing disease in the world today. There's a lot of motivation just hearing from consumers that, you know, that's like, gosh, I'm so happy that I found, you know, Hint, and you're helping me to, you know, get healthier and really live the life that I want to live.
How do people get educated about all the stuff that you've been talking about? I mean, I'm learning a ton just sitting here.
Yeah.
But I think most people don't have all the knowledge that you do.
I started just out of a passion project. I started something called the Kara Network, and I also have a podcast called Unstoppable with Kara Goldin that you can download on iTunes. But I do a lot of writing on LinkedIn, and I'm in the process of writing a book about some of this stuff too.
Well, congratulations.
Sort of what I've learned as well. So if I can actually sit in one place long enough to do some editing on it.
Do you have any advice for young women that maybe want to get into the tech industry or maybe the beverage industry?
Like, I love people who take the initiative to reach out and just make it happen. When I fondly tell, you know, the head, I went to Arizona State University, and I tell the head of the school, he's like, oh, have we helped you enormously and you know, your career search after college? And I'm like, no, actually, like, not even at all.
Right,
like, I mean, I say this like it, you know, honestly, because I wanted to write for Fortune magazine, and Fortune magazine was not coming on campus. And so I just decided to get on a plane and go to New York, and I just was going to go out and get it. And I ultimately didn't end up getting a job with Fortune. They wouldn't hire somebody with no experience, and so I figured out that I would get a job somewhere in the building, and then I would eventually get to Fortune, which I never did. It's an investment in yourself to go out and, you know, buy the air ticket and go figure out whether or not something like that, and, you know, what's the worst thing that could happen, which is what my dad used to say all the time.
Oh, yeah.
You know, whenever I'd have doubt in something that I was doing, he always said, so what's it going to cost to do that? And, you know, I'd say, well, the plane ticket is $300, and then this and this, and he was like, okay, well, is that going to, you know, set you back forever? What is that number in your head that really is like, oh, that's going to be a really massive mistake? If I really wanted to try something, and you know, I would go do it.
With everything going on in your crazy life, what do you do for fun?
I spend a lot of time outside hiking, and
that's good. And wearing your sunscreen.
Wearing my sunscreen. Right. I have 2 Labradors that actually come to the office with me, and then I also have 4 kids.
Right.
So I'm constantly, you know, trying to keep up with that whole venture, and sometimes I find like they're sort of competitive with each other.
I'm sure.
And one says, "Oh, that's really dumb," and, you know, why would you do that? And so I'm constantly, you know, reminding them that what I do every day might be really dumb to other people, but it's actually what I like doing, and I smile and have fun doing it. So,
well, it's an amazing company that you built. It was so great talking to you.
Thanks, you too. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the manicure.
Yeah, let's see the nails. Our nails
with my cherries. Very,
exactly.
Very cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching the video. If you want to learn more about Hint Water or the sunscreen, I've got the links in the description. Also, check out more of my videos here, and please subscribe.